And guys, this video is brought to you by 𝗕𝗪𝗀𝗀. Now live on the Binance Smart Chain, you can swap, stake and earn on 𝗕𝗪𝗀𝗀 for extremely lucrative rewards. Now 𝗕𝗪𝗀𝗀 is VenomDAO's latest initiative after establishing ViperSwap, Harmony's leading decentralized exchange. Head over to 𝗕𝗪𝗀.exchange and start earning rewards today. Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. In this video today we're taking another look at XRP and specifically to see if the price action is going to be favorable or whether or not we are going to see a correction. As we get into this video guys, if you do find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you will not miss another XRP update. Right, with all that said, done and out of the way, let's get into XRP here in this brief update to see exactly what is going on with the price action of this particular coin. So we are starting off with XRP paired with USDT. This is the weekly chart and we are using Binance as the data source. So anyone who's using TradingView, you can replicate what we've got here and you'll be able to do your own charts. Now, on this weekly chart, there's a couple of things that are really important that we have to acknowledge. Obviously, as usual, the stochastic is now approaching the overbought area. So it won't be long and we should start to see, you know, that kind of correction that we've been having on those daily candles represented here in the weekly. Okay, so we should start to see a deviation here before maybe coming back up again. Okay, so we are obviously looking for a correction probably in the month of September, and it may be more severe than what you're seeing currently. That being said, though, if as long as support holds, then we should be pretty good to actually, you know, continue the motion that we have been and can maybe push up a little bit higher before we do see any more corrections come in. Now, obviously, with the stochastic relative strength index, we can take all of the momentum out of XRPs here, and basically what that would allow us to do is lower the volume and allow us to drop our stochastic relative strength index whilst maintaining a sideways trade at the top here. But that does require favorable trading conditions, and it does mean that we'd have to hold the strong area of $1.07. Okay, so that's where we're currently bouncing from right now. This has to hold if we want to see the stochastic drop down nicely with a loss of momentum, and maybe we'll just continue to trade a sideways across here during the month of September. Now, with that being said, there are many things and many different factors that come into account here. So let's actually just flip and change this over into our relative strength index. And here we can see that we're not actually going to the overbought area. We can start to see that we're having a bit of a correction on this weekly RSI. Okay, now obviously the relative strength index is not as sensitive to price movements as the stochastic relative strength index. So we can obviously see that we are over or heading to overbought on the stochastic, but we're actually starting this correction right now on the relative strength index, the regular RSI. Okay, so it's always good to know this, but this puts it in an interesting point because obviously as we find support here at $1.07 and we are actually reasonably high at 56, there's plenty of room to fall down if the sentiment in the market does shift and change. So as many people in the space are talking about September usually being a bit of a bear month, ultimately you see lots of corrections historically in the month of September. This could mean that we could start to actually see Bitcoin have a correction. We could see Ethereum have a deep correction. And as a result, you could expect XRP to also have a steep correction. Now, that means that you could start to potentially see this relative strength index and the stochastic relative strength index on the weekly chart go down towards the oversold area. Okay, so there's plenty of room to fall down. With that being said, there's also plenty of room to grow to the upside, right? We can grow to the upside if the sentiment is also there. So again, it's important that we do lock in that key area, that key support of $1.07. And as long as we stay above this area, that will basically be a favorable side to trade whilst we also lose the momentum out of our RSI. Okay, and this is basically done by lowering these volumes over time, right? So we can see that this good volume coming in here, and then when we started to see a correction come down, we saw the volume drop down. That was basically helping to protect the price whilst we were correcting our relative strength index or the stochastic relative strength index. So what you're looking for here during this fourth wave correction was a nice correction on your relative strength index. Now, this is really apparent when you take a look at it at that stochastic level. So here you can see that we were, you know, overbought, and then we basically came down to the oversold area, right? And now we're approaching the overbought area at this point here. What we're looking for in that particular scenario is a sideways trade like this, to basically wipe this area here out of play, right? So we're looking to basically lower the relative strength index and the stochastic relative strength index without doing too much damage to the price if we can hold support. So holding support is going to be key. As long as those volumes stay low, we should be able to, but we have to be mindful that we are very, very close to breaking that support line right now. Okay, so let's obviously jump down into our daily view, because this is where things get really interesting for XRP. Okay, so I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger and just bring this down so you guys can see the detail of what we're doing here. So what we've got is basically an upward trend line. Okay, this is kind of something that's been tested quite a bit. And this is where things are getting really, really tight for us now in terms of XRP. Now we can see have an ABC correction wave, possibly. Okay, and it's not until we break that $1.07 that you will actually see the C wave kind of coming into play here. Okay, so if we hold support, then the C wave is invalidated. It's not likely to happen. But obviously, to go down to this C wave, we have to obviously break the $1.07 support line, but we also have to invalidate our upward trend line as well. Okay, so the upward trend has been working well for us. This is why we've just had a bounce today from here. But again, if we do lose this and we start to see this thing come down significantly, then the C wave is where we'll probably likely end up. Now, there are some other good news stories here within the daily. Okay, so obviously the weekly is heading up to the overbought area. However, the daily is already oversold, okay? So the stochastic is all the way down here already. Okay, so that's actually a pretty positive sign, because we're currently tracking at 2.8, and we obviously have seen this thing all the way down here at reasonably low levels during that fourth wave correction. And we're overbought for quite some time, so we were talking about needing to have a correction. We can't move up forever, so we are starting to see this correction come in. We are now actually oversold on this daily chart. So that's actually a really positive sign. And it means that we are more than likely in the next 1 to 2 days still going to hold the support of $1.07. That's going to hold, at least in my opinion. And obviously where it goes after that is anyone's guess at this point in time. We need to see more data to really verify how the next couple of days go. But right now there's plenty of room to grow, but we do need good sentiment. If we throw the sentiment on here at the moment, we can see that we have been decreasing the volume over the last 4 days as we've seen this correction here, right? So basically we can actually see that there was a decrease pretty much even during we were pushing up here, right? There was a decrease in volume. Then there was a slight bump when we got to the top of B, and now we are decreasing the volume. Now that decrease in volume helps protect the price whilst we lower our stochastic, and that's helping to support XRP above $1.07. So right now XRP is doing really well. It's oversold on the daily. It's heading to overbought on the weekly. That's the only concern at this point in time. Now, if we look to hold this, then we should do well, and we could avoid this whole C wave correction altogether. Obviously, you know, these waves they form all the time. There's waves within waves within waves. Obviously, the main thing to do is actually couple all of the Elliott theory with many other factors as well. Such as strong support and resistance lines. So in the case of XRP right now, it's the support of our trend line to the upside and our support line of $1.07 that is preventing the C wave from coming in, and also the fact that our stochastic is oversold. And we can check this as well to verify it against the relative strength index. And on the relative strength index, you can see that it actually has got a little bit further to actually fall down. And this would actually then support a C wave correction if we were to lose the $1.07. Okay, so there's two sides to the story here. Obviously, you've got your stochastic, which is really sensitive to price movement, which means you can go from oversold right the way back to overbought without moving the needle much at all, depending on how that sentiment goes, and then that allows you to fall down. And then you've got your relative strength index, which is not as price sensitive, and this one will basically tell us that we are looking to go down a little bit lower here on the daily chart. Okay, and if we do lose that support, then that will be the expectation that you would probably come down to about 93 cents. Okay, so for XRP to then fall down to that particular level there, that should take your relative strength index to an oversold status along with your stochastic, and hopefully your volumes will also be nice and low as well. So everything then gears up, ready to take the next step. And for those who are following the fifth wave, the impulse waves to the upside, inside the fifth wave itself will be full of waves, and this is just one of the correction waves inside of there. So this is actually on the kind of the smaller time scales. We normally look at the weeklies and the dailies and things like that, and this is just one of those correction waves inside of our larger piece, right, inside of our weekly chart. So right now, obviously looking really strong on the daily from a stochastic point of view, holding the support well at the moment. And the relative strength index is obviously favoring a C wave correction. So we obviously have to bear that in mind, that if we do lose this support, then shorting down to here, it seems like a sensible decision to be made here. I think ultimately really paying attention to where these support lines are. And if you lose them, then yeah, that's where my mind would be going towards this C wave here. Let's check the hourly though. Okay, and again, this is something then that also helps support what is going on with the daily, right? Because ultimately we're actually heading down quite low, which means our daily isn't really going to be able to push down fast. Okay, it could go down our daily relative strength index, but it has to obviously rely on what's going on the hourly. So for now, heading to oversold on the hourly, really kind of riding the line here on the support line. Okay, so let me just make this a little bit bigger, guys, so you can see. So here you can see the trend line. We had the wicks kind of going below it, but the daily hasn't really closed below it. So that's positive. Now, obviously, we are looking at the support line and the intersection here of the trend line. And what we're looking to do is hold the trend line where best we can. The fact that this is oversold or heading to oversold, I should say, is positive. That means that this is going to be a strong bouncing area for XRP to then potentially have a bit of a correction to the upside. Now, there seems to be a bit of resistance that would be forming up here about $1.10. So this could be where we end up kind of getting ourselves stuck and then see that downward trend actually continue, right? Again, this triangular wedge between our upward trend and our resistance of $1.10, this is a triangular wedge. This could see us push to the upside if the favorable markets are there. Otherwise, we might actually short down and go down to that 93-cent scenario. So right now, it's really difficult to say for sure which direction it's going to go. Depending on what indicators you're using, you get a slightly different version of events. Let me just bring on that stochastic. Here you can see that we're already oversold on the stochastic, right? Indicating that we should be pushing up, right? So you get two different scenarios depending on what indicators that you are looking at the moment. For me right now, we're holding support well, but if we do lose this support, then my expectations would be that we will be looking to drop down to 93 cent. You can see that we're just going below the trend line right now on this hourly. So guys, I really wanted to kind of give this a nice brief update on what I'm seeing here for XRP. Right now, we're at that cusp of seeing a correction come in. And again, it could literally be just once we lose this support line, we go down to that area of 93 cent. If we hold the support, then the expectations would probably be to look to take XRP up, past that $1.10 scenario up to maybe $1.17 before then starting to see another pullback. Okay, so I'll give you guys another update in a couple of days on XRP to see how this thing is playing out. But being mindful, I think there is a low point here of 93 cent before we then continue into what would be the third wave inside our fifth wave to the upside, which will be a very significant push on XRP. And I think we'd probably go to all-time high in that scenario there. So yeah, do watch out for that one. I think that's going to be a very good wave after we get through this correction that we're currently in. And guys, if you have found this video useful and informative, then do go ahead and hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you won't miss another XRP update. Guys, with this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.